Sometimes children and young people's play can have an effect on the play worker. Depending on the personal circumstances of a play worker, he or she may feel uncomfortable suddenly at a type of play, or an activity, or a certain child's behaviour. Or because of the values of the play worker, he or she might feel disagreement with the play worker's principle. The following are examples of play workers who have felt their emotions negatively affected by a day at a play scheme.
Well, I was always raised to believe it was rude to swear. These two teenagers, they were swearing all day long, and I know I'm supposed to let them, but some days it gets me down. I just think it's rude, isn't it? It makes me feel sad for today's generation.
I was bullied at school as a child. I know it's a long time ago now, and of course I'm over it more or less. Though I think those experiences shape you for your adult life. I was called fat a lot, and I still struggle with my weight. I've been working in play schemes for about 7 years now. There's been one or two times when children have said really helpful things to me. When I was new in one play scheme a few years ago, a child came up to me and said, you're a fatty, you're ugly," and then ran away. Silly really, but I was amazed by how upset I was. I felt like I was a 9-year-old again, being bullied at school. It really took me back. I went for a little cry in the loos afterwards. I felt so stupid about it afterwards. I mean, they're just kids. They don't mean it right. But it really took me back. I guess I'm still sensitive about my weight. I blush when children comment on it.
Everything was going smoothly. I'd been making pointy hats with the children for Christmas, and then one of the children started pretending that the hats were boobs. All the children were laughing. I just choked. Had a breast cancer operation 2 years ago, and it still comes back to haunt me. I just haven't recovered fully emotionally. My parents were really cautious people. When I was growing up, they were always a bit overprotective. They wouldn't let me on a bicycle without a helmet and 50 different kinds of knee pads and shoulder pads. You know what I mean? I suppose it affected me because as an adult, I'm quite cautious. I feel very afraid when the children are being a bit risky, you know? If they start climbing trees and things. I used to tell them to calm down all the time. I've been I've been on a lot of training and I've now learned how to assess when risks are okay or when they're not appropriate for the age or level. But you know, sometimes even if I know it's an appropriate risk, I still get a little jumpy. I have to stop myself from holding their hand sometimes.
I emigrated here from Iran 5 years ago. I'm settled and my family are safe, but I witnessed a lot of pain and scenes in my home country. A lot of death and destruction as a result of war. When I see children playing with toy guns, it makes me angry. I think they shouldn't be encouraged with this. They are learning to destroy and hurt people. I talked to the manager one day about it. I was told I have to allow them to play with the props and use their imagination, even if it's war and fighting games. I get angry, but I have to bite my tongue. It's hard to keep my feelings hidden.
Sometimes children and young people's play can have an effect on the play worker in a good way. Children and young people can be remarkably insightful. They may understand things that a play worker doesn't. They may have strengths in areas a play worker doesn't. Perhaps they have a different background, different life experiences, different culture, language, or beliefs. Children and young people can be a giant source of learning new things for play workers. Here are some play workers who had a really good day at Play Scheme and learned new things thanks to children and young people.
These two girls got in a fight one day. Well, I say fight. One girl, she was 8, she started picking on a 6-year-old. She started snatching things, and because the 6-year-old wasn't responding, she upped the ante and started pulling her hair. I leapt over to go there as fast as I could, but not before the 8-year-old had managed to clap the 6-year-old around the head. She ran off when she saw me coming. I went for the 6-year-old first and asked if she was okay. I was amazed. Even though she was crying, she said in this tiny little voice that broke my heart, "It's not her fault. Her sister hits her, so she's sad." I couldn't believe a 6-year-old could be so forgiving or have such an adult compassion for someone who had hurt her. It really humbled me, you know. I thought, would I have been so forgiving? Children are amazing sometimes.
I've lived in the suburbs of London all my life. I never really got the travel bug, though my friends have been all over. I always quite liked it here. I used my holidays to get things done around the house and catch up on reading. The gym, pampering myself at bars, that kind of thing. I grew up in Teddington, which is really white, middle class area. When I first started as a play worker, though, I was offered a job in Hammersmith, and I took it. I was amazed at the mix of cultures and backgrounds. I hadn't really been exposed to that much difference before. My first activities at the scheme was helping me create things for Black History Month. God, I remember the children explaining all kinds of things about their cultural backgrounds, their family histories, what they were making and why. I soaked it all up. I could stop asking questions. I felt like it was a whole new world. I loved it. I felt like I was a student and they were teachers. It was great.
I tell you, I've never been so surprised in this one day. I'm mad at cards, you see. I've always been good at them, don't know why. I just loved them from a young age. You couldn't beat me at poker if you tried, or snap, any game. It's just one of those things. I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at cards. Anyway, I was with this one kid one day. He was always a bit of a loner. I tried to make sure he was okay, kept an eye out for him. He offered me a deck of cards one day, and it was a play cue, so I responded. I started playing with him, and you wouldn't believe, he taught me some tricks I never knew. Don't know where he learnt them, but I was stumped. He beat me that day, and he's the only person who ever has.
I know it sounds immature, but I had a huge row with my boyfriend one morning before a play scheme. We both stormed out of the house and I was running late. I missed my bus. It was just one of those mornings, a nightmare. So I got to play scheme and I was all ready to run into manager's office and apologize for being late. And the first thing that happened when I walked through the door was Sarah, this little girl who comes every day. She runs up to me and hugs me around the knees and says that she's so glad that I'm there and I will come and play with her. She grinned up at time and with this huge teethy smile. You know what? It just changed my whole day. It put a huge smile on my face too.